Did you say the IRS building is flooded?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, sorry to
The
hear
basement,
that. Yeah, that's too bad.
they're still in business, though.
No. Some members of Congress want to know why President Bush claims he can sometimes just ignore the law if he feels like it. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Arlen Specter is holding hearings on Mr. Bush's use of something called bill signing statements. The president reserves the right to revise, interpret, or disregard a measure on national security or constitutional grounds. President Bush has done this 110 times to challenge 750 separate laws passed by the Congress, including a ban on the torture of detainees and the renewal of the Patriot Act. Specter calls it a challenge to quote the plain language of the Constitution. And Senator Dianne Feinstein says if the president's going to nullify part of a law, it should be done using the veto, something President Bush has never done. But the White House insists it's important for the president to express reservations about the constitutionality of certain provisions of laws. Because, of course, he's the decider, and he can decide these things just by looking at them. The Justice Department, of course, also defended the president. No surprise there. It's the president's Justice Department. You think Alberto Gonzales is going to come out and say President Bush is abusing his power? Not a chance. Here's the question. When is it okay for the president to revise, interpret, or disregard a law? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf.
Thanks, Jack. Let's check back with Jack in New York. Jack?
The Senate Judiciary Committee is holding hearings on President Bush's use of something called bill signing statements. Using these, the president can revise, interpret, or disregard a law based on national security or constitutional grounds. The question we asked is, when is it okay for the president to do this? Karen in Idaho Falls, never. Unfortunately, President Bush runs the government like a secret society. We won't know how much damage he's done to our freedoms until he leaves office and all of the secret deals surface. William in Columbia, Maryland, I find it interesting that Congress is debating a constitutional amendment on flag burning when the real threat to the Constitution is our president and all the senators and representatives who have failed in their oversight responsibility. Kane in Honolulu, Mr. Bush is not only the decider, he's also the reviser, the interpreter, and the disregarder. In short, he can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. Who's going to stop him? Bill in Covington, Virginia, Bush has moved us from being a nation of laws, not men, to a nation of outlaws and bagmen. Bush is the greatest desecrator of the U.S. flag in history, and he ought to be impeached for it. Chris in Crawfordsville, Indiana, it was never okay. We should not have to count on his puppets in Congress to impeach him. We should be able to recall him. The American people hired him and should be able to fire him. Susan in Homer, Illinois, when I can disregard the law, that's when it's okay. And Dave in Long Island writes, Jack, it'll be okay the same day they make you the head of CNN and me a multi-billionaire and both of us above the law, as President Bush seems to think he is. By the way, when you take over CNN, can I have editorial control? No. You can't.